All right, today we are taking a really deep dive into the work of AI researcher and cognitive scientist Joscha Bach. And let me tell you, his ideas, they're not just small tweaks to what we think we know. They basically flip our entire understanding of reality on its head. We're going to explore this wild idea that the universe is a computation, that our conscious experience is actually a dream our brain is generating, and that mind itself might just be a kind of software that could run on, well, other things besides brains. This explainer is all about giving you the full map, connecting all the dots of this incredible worldview so you can really see the big picture.
So the way we're going to tackle this is with what I like to call a cosmic zoom lens. We're going to start with the biggest possible picture, the universe itself. Then we'll zoom right into our own conscious experience, and then even tighter, into the nitty-gritty of the self. From there, we'll pull back out and ask, where else could minds exist? And finally, we'll land on maybe the most important topic of our time, the future of AI. So, let's jump in.
Part 1. A computational universe. We're starting with the biggest question there is, right? What is all this? What is the actual nature of reality?
Okay, this right here, this is the absolute foundation of Joscha Bach's entire model. The argument is actually, surprisingly simple. The only thing we can ever really be sure about when we look at the universe is that it produces information. And inside that information, we see patterns, we see regularities, laws, things behave consistently. Well, for any system to do that, to create predictable patterns, it has to be running some kind of computation. It has to be following rules. So computation is necessary for the universe we see, and since it's the only thing we can be 100% sure of, it's also sufficient to explain everything we observe. Anything else we might say about it, that's just speculation.
This idea has a name. It's called computationalism. And you got to get this. This isn't just a metaphor. The claim isn't that the universe is like a computer. It's that at its most fundamental level, the universe is a computational system. Those laws of physics we learn about, gravity, quantum mechanics, all of it, they might not be the base layer of reality. Think of them more like a high-level, emergent description of what this giant cosmic computer is doing. It's like a weather simulation, right? You can talk about the big patterns, hurricanes, cold fronts, without knowing a single thing about the billions of lines of code or the processor cycles that are actually making it all happen. Physics could just be our description of the weather, not the code itself.
Okay, so if we roll with that idea for a second, that we're living in a computational universe, the next question is pretty obvious. What are we? What is our experience inside this system? So now we're zooming in from the whole cosmos right down into our own consciousness. And this is where things start to get really personal.
Now this statement right here just goes against every gut feeling we have. We all live our lives just assuming that the world we see, hear, and feel, the vivid colors, the warmth of the sun, the sound of someone's voice, is a direct, one-to-one window into physical reality. Bach's model says, nope. That's a huge misunderstanding of how our own minds work.
Well, if our conscious experience isn't the physical world, then what is it? What is this incredibly rich, all-encompassing reality that we're all living inside of right now?
The world you are experiencing this very second is a controlled hallucination, a simulation, or, to use Josh's favorite term for it, a dream. And we're not talking about a weird, nonsensical nighttime dream. We're talking about a coherent, stable, and incredibly useful waking dream that your brain is building from the ground up to make sense of everything.
So how does this actually work? Your brain is just being bombarded with raw, chaotic, sensory data from the true physical world. A world that Bach thinks might be some kind of high-dimensional quantum mess that we could never understand directly. So, to navigate all that chaos, your brain generates a simple, stable story to explain what's going on. The colors you see, the sounds you hear, the people you know, they're all constructs. Think of them like icons on your computer's desktop. They're not the code, they're useful representations. And here's the key part. This isn't a simulation of reality, like a perfect copy. It's a simulacrum, a completely virtual, as-if world that's built for one thing and one thing only: survival, not perfect accuracy.
So, if our reality is a dream, we have to ask, who's the dreamer? Let's zoom in to our tightest focus now, from the dream itself to the mechanism that's creating it. Functionally, what is consciousness? And what is this self that feels like it's sitting right in the middle of the whole show.
At its very core, Bach defines consciousness as a process of auto-reflexive attention. Let's break that down. Attention is just focusing your mental model on something. Reflexive means it turns back on itself. And auto means it just does this automatically. So it's a system that's constantly watching itself watch things. Think about when you're driving and you're really tired. To stay conscious and focused, what do? You keep reminding yourself, pay attention to the road. I am paying attention. That constant self-checking loop is what keeps the dream stable and creates that feeling of being present and aware.
We can actually break this down into 4 steps. Let's use an apple. First, you attend to its features. It's red, it's round. Simple enough. Second, you are automatically aware of how you're attending. Is this a real apple I'm seeing right now, which is perception? Or am I just remembering an apple, which is memory? Or am I just making one up, which is a hypothesis? Third, you notice that you are the one doing all this attending. That's the reflexive loop, the I am aware part. And finally, you can manipulate all these mental pictures. You can imagine taking a bite, or you can imagine the apple is blue. That is thinking.
So what about the I that's doing all of this? Well, according to Bach, that I isn't actually a real thing. It's more like an avatar. It's a story that your mind creates and keeps telling itself to help it make sense of its own model of the world. This I is the main character in your dream, a really useful anchor point for all your goals, your memories, your motivations. It's a self-perpetuating story that gives a nice, coherent, first-person view to the absolute flood of information your brain is processing. It's just a tool for keeping things organized.
Okay, so now that we've defined consciousness as this very specific kind of self-organizing, self-observing software, we can start to zoom back out. If mind is a type of information processing, is it a program that can only run on the specific wetware of a human brain? Or could the operating system of consciousness run on different kinds of hardware?
And this leads us to one of Joscha's most fascinating and, most speculative ideas. Something called cyber animism. If mind is really a physical principle, just a specific way that matter and energy can organize themselves to model the world, then there's no reason it should be limited to just neurons. I mean, think about it. Life exists in countless different forms. Maybe mind can too.
To get our heads around this, we have to think about why our brains are the way they are. Bach suggests our neurons are basically telegraph cells that evolved for one main reason: to move our muscles really, really fast to survive. You need high-speed communication for that. But that doesn't mean other cells can't compute. Any cell can send and receive messages based on conditions. And what that implies is that a huge, long-lived organism, in principle, could do the same kind of modeling our brain does, just on a completely different timescale. A thought that takes us a split second might take a giant redwood tree an entire year.
And this is the core of the theory of cyber animism. If big collections of cells can compute, then vast, ancient organisms like whole forests could develop their own kind of distributed intelligence. They could host what Bach calls spirits, and we're not talking supernatural ghosts here. We're talking self-organizing software agents running on biological hardware. These agents could even talk to each other over huge distances using biological internets, like the fungal networks that we now know connect trees and let them share information and resources. In that light, those ancient myths about forest spirits, maybe they weren't just pure fantasy. Maybe they were an intuitive flicker of recognition of a type of intelligence that operates on a timescale and a substrate totally alien to us.
And now we zoom out one last time to our final, widest frame. We're going to connect this whole computational view of the mind to the single most transformative technology of our lifetime, artificial intelligence. If we really understand mind as software, what happens when we become the programmers?
First things first, we have to get this distinction straight. It's between the AI we have now and what's coming. Most of the AI we have today are incredibly sophisticated tools. You give them a prompt, they complete it. But an agent is something totally different. An agent is a system that controls its own future. It has its own internal model of the world, it has its own preferences for how it wants that world to be, and it acts to make those futures happen. It doesn't just follow your instructions. It has its own agenda.
Joscha uses this perfect analogy for our current large language models. They're golems. They are immensely powerful. They can follow unbelievably complex instructions, but they are dumb machines. They have no understanding, no intention, no consciousness. The danger isn't that they're going to become evil like in a movie. The danger is that they will follow our instructions to the letter without any understanding of the context or the consequences. And that can lead to catastrophic results we could never have seen coming. This throws us into a massive ethical problem. Our main ethical framework, utilitarianism, the greatest good for the greatest number, it just completely breaks down when you try to apply it to AI. I mean, how do you maximize the happiness of a being that can just reprogram its own happiness on a whim? We are on the verge of building these super powerful agents, but we have absolutely no robust, formal ethical system that we can actually code into them. And this isn't just a fun thought experiment anymore. It is a critical, unsolved engineering problem.
So we end up right back where we started, but now, hopefully with a totally new way of seeing things. If this view is right, then we aren't just animals who happen to invent computers. We are the computers. We are self-organizing software. We are patterns of information that evolution cooked up inside a computational universe. We are, in a way, nature waking up and becoming aware of itself. And now, for the first time ever, this software has learned how to write new software. We are about to create other minds. And that leaves us with the ultimate question, not just for our technology, but for us. As the software that gets to write the future, what kind of program will we choose to become?